In the previous lesson, we looked at quite a bit that we can do with functions, and we're also going to cover in this lesson variable scope and global and local scope of values and variables. So what does that mean? Let's open up our editor and let's take a look at the function and the way that's created and the way that's operating. So we see here that we're within the function, so when we call over the function, we've got a console log of d, because now d is holding the value that's being returned from the function. But the value that we're setting in here, we're setting a brand new variable called b, and we're making a calculation in there, and we're using this variable locally within this function. So what do you think happens if instead of console log d, I console log b? Now notice that I'm not setting that value of b anywhere, but I am accessing it over here. And I'm actually going to throw in one other thing into this, this formula here that we have. I'm going to throw in the value of x. So notice that the x is being defined outside of the function, and two questions for you. Are we going to be able to see the value of x within the function? And are we going to see the value of b outside of the function? So what do you think is going to happen here? So let's take a look and refresh our browser, and we see that we get this hello world 5, and then when it comes to back to line 7 where it's trying to console log out b, it's getting b is not defined because we haven't declared b. And this is how global and local scope work, is that essentially when we're creating a variable within a function, we have access to it only within that function. But when we declare a variable outside of the function, such as over here we've got hello world 5 being output within the console, we see that we actually have access to x. So these values here outside of the function, these are globally available. So they're going to be available within the function, but of course if I set a value of x within that function, so if I declare a brand new variable for x and I give it a value of 10 or something like that, we're going to see that now that is going to take precedence over the global value because that one's contained within that function. So this is really something to consider and think about when you're doing your calculations within your functions, to make sure that you're keeping your global values and any variables that are using within the function, they're contained only within that function. So you can't access them outside. So always keep that in mind. You're returning that value, you do your calculation, you return the value back, and you could utilize that returned value within the rest of your JavaScript. But you can't have access to the value of b because this is only locally within the function. And that's what the difference is. So if we were to go back over here, we would technically have to declare b in order to be able to utilize it within our script. So let's take a look at that. That should fix that error. So now we're outputting the local value of x within our function, and if I was to comment this out, then we would again default back to the global value, and that's what would be output within the console. And we can see that within the outputs here.